What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Lakers Outsiders podcast. Man, it's been a long time since we've done one of these. I don't even know what to do right here. But Gary Kester here with you. I am joined today by my two usual guests. Hani Amadian joins us. Hani, how you been, man? It's been a while since we've talked. At least
Yeah,
face to face like this, at least.
yeah, it's been a while. I've been periodically streaking across my neighborhood, reminding myself that LeBron James is a Laker. But other than that, life is pretty good.
Just don't do that on the pod, and we're good.
Maybe we'll do a bet for who wins the most games when we're tweeting off the account, and whoever loses has to streak on there. We'll consider it.
I am not going to do that, so you can just pull me out of that competition.
And that voice you hear is Jacob Rude. Jacob, how's life? How's life as a Laker fan watching LeBron James?
So you haven't heard from me because for the last 4 months I've just been on a bender celebrating LeBron James being a Laker. So tonight was like the first time I saw somebody tweet it that LeBron looked like LeBron basically in the first half, and oh my God, it was glorious.
Yeah, no, that LeBron James guy is pretty good at basketball. I'm just gonna say. I mean, the Warriors should know all about it, man. I'm gonna be so petty towards the Warriors this year now. The Lakers are good.
I don't know if you guys noticed, but during that time when the Lakers weren't very good, the Warriors actually blew a 3-1 lead in the NBA Finals to LeBron.
I had never heard that. That's crazy.
No, yeah, it's crazy.
People forget this. It's important to keep reminding them.
And what's even wild is that they won 73 games that year.
Oh, wow. And they had the first unanimous MVP?
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy.
Wow. That's wild. All right. So the Lakers played the Golden State Warriors tonight, as you probably could have guessed, even if you didn't watch and just listening to the first 2 minutes of this podcast. A high-scoring game, a really fun game to watch, a preseason game in Las Vegas. The Lakers win 123-113. A lot of action, a lot of back and forth, especially in that first half. We saw a lot of the starters. I mean, I think we saw kind of like a typical rotation that you'd see from these teams. Draymond Green didn't play. DeMarcus Cousins obviously didn't play. Who knows when he's going to play and be ready for them. But the Lakers get the win tonight, 123-113. Hani, I'll throw it to you first. What stood out for you tonight? Obviously, LeBron James played a big role, and just talk about how great it was to see him really kind of open up and be, like Jacob said, be like the real LeBron James that we know, and just some other things you noticed tonight.
Yeah, it was really cool just watching LeBron put in 75% effort instead of 50% like he has been the last few games. Obviously, he's only playing 15 minutes a night right now, which even puts it in crazier perspective considering he had a double-double in that time and had 5 assists on top of it. But
he was only on pace to score 30 points with 20 rebounds and 10 assists tonight. That's all.
Yeah, really, we should be talking about why he's not doing more. But probably the most encouraging thing from tonight, and also from a couple of the previous games, is that most of the young guys look like they're meshing with LeBron pretty well. So far, I think Ingram has been the one that's kind of most stood out over the course of the preseason. But tonight, Lonzo coming back, and outside of the first half where he was a little rocky, he played pretty well, and he was seemed like he was kind of working with LeBron pretty well, even though they were kind of feeling each other out. Kuzma's kind of had a little bit of a rough preseason, but he's going to be fine playing off of LeBron, and Josh Hart has been really good all preseason as well. So I think that not only tonight, but most of preseason has been kind of the most promising thing, because the Lakers are going to rely a lot on a bunch of young players to do well, even if LeBron is obviously LeBron and he's going to do the bulk of the work. They're going to need a lot out of those 4 players, especially. And so far, it seems like they're going to be a little ahead of where I kind of thought they would be.
Yeah, for sure. It's with the preseason, it's always hard to judge because you've got those established stars that are like you said, you're lucky to see him going 75%. And I think the main thing with preseason is to just, especially when you have a team that has playoff aspirations like the Lakers do, is to just get through the preseason healthy. Get to game number 1 with your full squad. We haven't seen Mo Wagner, and we'll probably talk about him in a little bit. But Jacob, Lonzo Ball returned to action tonight. And obviously, you spend a lot of time kind of following Lonzo Ball for the Lonzo Wire, but what did you take away from his play tonight? I thought it kind of started slow, but he really picked up steam as the game went along.
Yeah, I think that was a big takeaway. He looked a little rusty early on. I was a little worried it'd be a long game for him, but really defensively, I thought that's where he made his biggest impact tonight. I think he ended up with 4 steals in 23 minutes. And that's a big thing the Lakers were missing without him. We were all kind of blown away at how good he was defensively last year. And at least on that end of the court, it didn't really look like he'd missed a beat. I thought he defended Curry fairly well when he came in the first quarter. Curry was having a field day drawing fouls on the Lakers on 3-pointers. But, I think overall, by the end of the night, I was impressed by how good Lonzo looked because he started to get a feel for things offensively and started looking like the Lonzo that we all saw last year. So, considering it took him like a quarter to get back to what he looked like last year, I thought it was overall a really good return for him.
Yeah, definitely started a little slow. Like you said, just rusty. First game in a long time for him, especially coming off an injury. But you could definitely see why Lonzo is going to be a valuable piece to this team. The defense, the passing, the rebounding from his position. And one look that I thought was really interesting tonight was him being on the floor with Rondo at the same time. I was kind of curious to see how that would go, especially if neither of them are really shooting. But the way those two move the ball and the way they can just create offense and push tempo, and Hani, you can add on to this, but it was so much fun, honestly, watching those two out there. It went a lot better than I thought it would. I thought that there could be, some issues to work on, especially because it's their first time being on the court together against a different opponent. And maybe, I don't know, who knows how much they've actually practiced on the same team together, but it was a lot of fun to watch those two be on the same court. The tempo and the transition opportunities are definitely going to be there when those two are on the court. And they can both, when they both want to, they can both rebound the basketball very effectively and push tempo themselves. So, that was a lot of fun. Yeah,
I think I have cautious optimism about that working throughout the year, mostly based on the fact that I don't think there's spacing is going to be an issue because they're going to be running all the time.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to be stuck in too many half court sets where it's an issue that Rondo can't shoot and Lonzo where we don't know if he can shoot. If they're pushing the pace and moving the ball, then it's going to be fast break after fast break. And even if it is like a half court game, it's going to be against less set defenses, and they're going to be able to kind of just get into the flow of the offense before anything happens, and spacing won't be as much of an issue. But yeah, it did look pretty promising and interesting, and I'm hoping that we get, at least glimpses of it throughout the season. It might not be something that they're running every game or for long stretches at a time, but for a few minutes, when you have two players who are really good at controlling pace, that's a huge advantage for a team that really, really wants to run and get out in transition all the time.
Especially when you have LeBron James on your team.
Yeah, that's it.
Those lineups with LeBron or with Lonzo and Rondo are going to really be dependent, I think, on Lonzo's shooting. The better he shoots or the more consistently he shoots, I think the more likely they are to put the two of them out there together, because it's really hard to play. If Lonzo's struggling like he did last year, it's really hard to play two non-shooters, especially two non-shooting guards at the same time. So, but yeah, the lineup with him, with those two, Ingram, Kuzma, and McGee, played just shy of 3 minutes tonight, and we're a +5, which seems about right. I thought they played pretty well together. It's intriguing. I'm willing to give it some more look in not just preseason time, but in actual games as well, just to see how it works against teams going full speed and when they're playing full speed. But to have two passers like that on the court at the same time, I think should lead to good things.
Yeah, I think I agree with you, Jake. But I think it's going to depend on Lonzo being able to at least be a capable 3-point shooter and to allow them as much spacing as they can in the half court sets if the game does get bogged down while they're both out there. It's also going to depend on who the other three players are around him. If you put him out there with like Lance and Beasley and then JaVale, it's like, I don't know how well that kind of lineup works. I mean, but if they're out there with like a LeBron, JaVale, and Ingram or Kuzma, then I think that's a lineup that could really, really work. I think it could be good defensively. I mean, I'm not expecting a lot out of Rondo defensively, not unless the game is on TNT or it's the playoffs. But no, I mean, I think that's going to depend on. And I think that's going to be the same we can say with a lot of guys on this team. Is just it depends on the lineups that they're in, because there are some definitely some good and some fun lineup combinations that Luke Walton can do with his team, but there are also some really bad ones that can be done. So as long as we can limit those, I think. I think the team will be fine, but I think Lonzo and Rondo together will be just fine, and hopefully a lot of fun, because I thought tonight I really enjoyed watching those two on the court together. So hopefully we get to see more of it, and hopefully it yields more positive results. So, all right. So the Lakers have one more preseason game left. Thankfully, I'm ready for preseason to be done, get this regular season going. Hani, what's one thing really that has kind of jumped out to you in a positive way with this team during the preseason? Like, what's your main takeaway?
Oof, that's a tough question. I'll pinpoint one player so far. Actually, I'm going to switch which player that I was going to pinpoint, because I think Jacob might go for it. But I'm going to actually, this is very on brand for me, but I've been really impressed with JaVale. And like he's been
stunning.
He's been better than even I expected, if that says anything to you guys. But
Honey, I thought you expected him to average like 50 points and 40 rebounds a game.
Close. I'm not saying he's better than Wilt, but I mean he's better than Wilt. But no, the first two games especially, you could see how much of an effect having like a vertical threat has on the Lakers. They have at least three players who are phenomenal passers. And so now they have this extra angle to basically pass the ball, throw it up anywhere near the hoop, and JaVale's going to go and get it and dunk it. So I was really impressed, and I think it was just really promising that they have this pick and roll threat that they haven't had in ages. Last year they basically had Brook Lopez, who was pretty much just a pick and pop guy, and that Julius Randle, who was improving as a pick and roll threat, but he wasn't really as much of a vertical threat as JaVale is. And then on top of that, he's been a good rebounder. I think they're probably going to need him to kind of adjust to having to rebound and push the ball right away, pass it to a guard to get the pace going. But once he does that, then that's a huge positive. And defensively, I think he at least brings rim protection. He can be kind of streaky on defense. He's not always the most heady defender, I guess, but as a rim protector at least, and somebody that they can funnel opponents towards, he has a lot of promise there as well.
Yeah, no, I've been pleasantly surprised with JaVale. I mean, I thought he was a good fit with this roster and would provide some value. But he's been, like you said, he's just been better than expected, I think. He's been – the thing I like about JaVale is that I think he understands, what his role is. He doesn't – for all the grief he gets for all the Shaqtin stuff throughout his career and whatnot, and it's all fun and games. But I think – so far from what we've seen, he understands what his role on this team is going to be, and he doesn't try to do anything outside of himself. Yeah. And I think that's really important, for any team to have guys that understand kind of what their limitations are and what they're not good at. And And I think JaVale is one of those guys that understands this is how I can be effective and this is how I'm going to be on the floor and help this team win. And, he's doing that really well in the preseason. So hopefully it's something that carries over into the regular season because the Lakers are going to need him, as much as, people want to, lean on the whole small ball rotation and things like that. The Lakers are really going to need JaVale McGee to perform this year. So it's very good to see him playing the way he has in the preseason. Hopefully it translates into the regular season. So Jacob, what have you liked from what you've seen from the team so far this preseason?
So I'll start off with one player, and then I do kind of have a general team kind of observation. I will say probably the most surprising player this year has been JaVale, or preseason has been JaVale. I didn't realize how bad the Lakers center situation was going to be, but JaVale has been a huge positive, and he's going to be, I think, as many minutes as he can play is how many he'll play. And it's just a matter of his kind of physical limitations with his asthma. Another player kind of under the radar, I don't know if this is who Hani thought I was going to pick. I've tweeted a couple times now that I've been really pleasantly surprised with has been Michael Beasley. And really it's in the exact opposite way of what I expected. He's been really good defensively. His offense is kind of a work in progress. I thought he's done a good job of passing, better than kind of his reputation would lead you to believe. But overall, he's been a good backup center. I don't know that you can play him long minutes as a backup center. I think there's been times, I know they did it tonight, they played JaVale and Beasley together. It's been kind of hard considering how thin the team is at the center position. I'd be kind of interested, if possible, to see some more of those lineups. But, overall, Beasley, I thought he was going to be one of, the last guys off the bench this year. And I think he's going to be pretty easily a staple of the rotation. He's just looked, to me, really good. But overall, and this is kind of – speaking of Beasley, I think the big thing that at least I've taken away from this preseason is this is really going to take some time. This team is going to take some time to gel. This is a lot of new guys they're throwing in. Even with guys as smart as Rondo and LeBron, it's going to take time to play with these new guys. JaVale, tonight 3/5 of our starting lineup were new guys from last year. Beasley's going to be playing a big role on the team. Josh Hart's probably going to have an even bigger role than he did last year. So things like that. Kuzma's in a different role, playing more center. So I think the big thing with this team so far is to be patient early in the year because it's going to be a rocky probably first month, maybe even 2 months. But I think this team will hit its stride some point during maybe December, January, February, and really start to look like the team that will be a playoff team. But it's been a rocky preseason, and I just think the biggest thing is to just be patient.
Yeah, and it's important to remember, two things on the whole, being patient with this team is A, they're still relying pretty heavily on their young players to be significant contributors to this roster. So that's important to remember that there's still going to be those ups and downs, even though, a lot of people expect Brandon Ingram to have a breakout season next to LeBron James and Lonzo Ball to take a step forward and Kyle Kuzma to, keep getting better and things like that. But they're still young players. Lonzo's in his second year. Kuzma's in his second year. Same with Hart. Ingram's still only 21 years old. So there's going to be ups and downs with those guys. And then, another thing to remember too is, even though you have LeBron James, you have a lot of new faces. Your team is probably going to start slow. As dominant as the Miami Heat were in their 4-year run with LeBron there, with Wade and Bosh, a lot of people forget that they started that first season, I think 9-8. It was either 8-8 or 9-8 because they went into Cleveland and they hadn't been playing well. in LeBron up until LeBron's return to Cleveland, and then that seemed to kind of springboard them. But yeah, I mean, it's going to take some time, especially because the Lakers have a pretty tough schedule to start out the year. You know, they're playing a lot of West teams, a lot of pretty good teams that have some more roster continuity and things like that. So I mean, there's a couple different reasons why fans just need to be patient with this team. And remember, it's an 82-game season. You know, they don't have to be storming out of the gates in the first 10 games. You know, it's gonna take some time, and you know. As long as they're like right there in the playoff hunt, you know, going into the All-Star break, I think they can really find their stride in the last 2 months of the season and get the ball really rolling heading into postseason play. Assuming they stay healthy, that's always the key thing. So,
well, I think a lot of things have really broke the Lakers' way early. Like the Thunder aren't going to have Roberson for half the season, maybe at this point, and Westbrook, I don't think is starting this season, or even if he is, he's kind of banged up. The whole Jimmy Butler thing in Minnesota, which is hilarious, but without him, I don't think the Timberwolves are a playoff team.
Yeah, they were awful. They were awful last year when he was out with that injury. So
at 13.
Yeah, and then the Spurs losing DeJounte Murray. They basically don't have a point guard at this point. I mean, those are three teams the Lakers are probably going to be battling with for a playoff spot. So I think they were going to start. I mean, obviously they were going to start slow no matter what, but I don't think it'll be quite as detrimental to their playoff chances with a slow start.
Yeah.
And one other thing, totally not really related, The Athletic just tweeted out an article about Jimmy Butler's whatever circus performance today. One of the players that he led to victory over the first teamers was Luol Deng.
Hell yeah, it was.
Luol Deng, James Nolnani or whatever, Nolnani, and Jared Terrell. Hell if I know, but that team with Butler beat Karl Anthony Towns, Andrew Wiggins, Teague, all the other first teamers.
Our solution to the center problem, which we're going to talk about, but right now we're trading back for Luol Deng.
I mean, to be fair, when it was Luol Deng up against Wiggins, only one of those guys had to be asked to get better before they signed a big contract.
Luol Deng was a better investment than Andrew Wiggins.
We didn't have to pinky swear anything with Luol Deng.
Oh, brother. Jimmy Butler, if you ever listen to this podcast, I just want to thank you for the entertainment you supplied us today. One of my main takeaways from this preseason so far is that I love how much this team moves the basketball.
Yeah.
Lance not included because he kind of does his own thing, but and Beasley does too sometimes. But there's been a lot of possessions where they overpass, and I think that's a great problem to have, especially this early on in the season and with a lot of new faces. So that's something that's very encouraging to me, is that these guys want to move the ball, and it's obviously something Walton has preached for a few years now, and that kind of has me excited that they're not working through just playing like ISO ball early on and trying to break those habits. Instead, they're trying to break, the habit of overpassing. So, and I think that's much more correctable than, guys just going one-on-one and trying to beat their man off the dribble and create a play that way. So, that's been a big takeaway for me. I mean, there's a lot, honestly. This is going to be a very interesting team to watch. Should be a very fun team to watch. Hopefully they surprise us all and get off to a good start, and then they can ride that throughout the season. But what are some concerns that you guys have seen through the preseason? Hani, I'll throw it to you. What's your top concern right now with this team going forward into the regular season?
I think my top concern is actually something that was the strength of the team last year, but I don't think their defense is going to be anywhere near as good as it was last year, at least to start the year. Because I think the two main players that they lost over the summer were Julius Randle and Brook Lopez, and they were probably two of the three biggest contributors to the defense being atop
Can you please stop bringing up Julius Randle's name? My heart is still heavy. Okay.
It hurts me too. I was so close to buying a Showtime Julius Randle jersey, and then I have to go to the Pelicans. Same color, sort of. But anyway, they were like two of the top 3 contributors to what was a top half of the league or top third of the league defense last year. So I think they're going to be missing those guys. And the guys that they replaced them with, most of the veterans, are not good defenders, especially considering, Rondo's older. LeBron doesn't really try much in the regular season, and Beasley and Lance, God help us. So that's kind of a concern. The thing about it that kind of makes me a little more optimistic is that most of the young guys are pretty good. Lonzo's obviously a really good defender. Josh Hart is very solid. And Brandon Ingram is improving and getting a lot better as well. So considering those guys are going to be playing a lot of minutes alongside LeBron, I don't think they're going to be like a bottom third defense. Like, I don't think they're going to be in the 20s in the league or something. But it is a little bit of a concern how high scoring most of these games have been, although that's obviously partially due to the pace. But their defense hasn't been very good. And when JaVale isn't on the floor, which means they're going small because they have like no other centers, then that makes their defense even more of an issue. They want to switch everything, but when you have a lot of these veterans who aren't as good as keeping players in front of them, then that becomes an issue because they don't have any rim protectors other than JaVale.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's definitely been, a concern in the preseason is, especially those first couple games, teams were the Nuggets were just kind of scoring at will. Especially that first game, the 3-point defense was just awful. They let Juancho Hernangomez just go off from 3. And really the whole Nuggets team was just draining 3 after 3. And you just can't have that, that'll put you behind real quick if you allow a team to just, come down in consecutive possessions and knock down 3-point shots. It's tough to kind of keep coming back from that. But, it's definitely a concern, especially because, kind of like what we've said a couple of times already, with so many new faces on the roster, it's just it's going to take time, for guys to get used to tendencies and just kind of what they like to do both offensively and defensively. And they'll be able to feed off of that and hopefully build off of it and get better. I think Brandon Ingram has made kind of more of a concerted effort to be better defensively. And I think that's important for him because he has the physical tools to really guard pretty much anybody out there. I don't know if he has the lateral quickness to guard, the really quick guards or anything like that, but he has the length to kind of make up for it.
Yeah.
His length is ridiculous sometimes. And if he just kind of learns to use that to his advantage defensively, that's going to be a big development in his game to be able to do that. So it'd be one thing to watch. Walton definitely has his work cut out for him to get this team defensively, trying to get them back to the level that they were last year. It'll be interesting to watch. But please, for the love of God, people, don't judge their defense on points per game.
Yeah.
Because they're going to play a crazy high pace with the talent on this roster. And that's where defense is going to be key, especially with Lonzo out there. I think because he is so opportunistic defensively and he can create turnovers, and that'll feed into their transition game. And obviously if they can just get stops and rebound the ball, it's much easier to push tempo than it is, obviously taking it out through the net and then having to inbound it, giving the defense, a couple extra seconds to get back. So it's going to start on defense for them. Hopefully they don't just try and outscore teams all year, because that usually doesn't work. Although last year's NBA Finals, that pretty much what it seemed to be. It was just a lot of high scoring, a lot of high, efficiency games. So
that's basically how Cleveland got to the finals last year, was just outscore people.
Yeah. And, sometimes it works, especially if you have LeBron James, but
yeah,
I think it only works if you have LeBron James.
Yeah. Pretty
Spoiler, we have LeBron James. So
we might get away with it, but I'd rather this team be able to lock down, especially in key situations, and trust that they're going to be able to give the stops that they need to. So, Jacob, we've talked about the defense as a concern so far. Do you have another big concern that you've seen from this team so far in the preseason?
Well, I do want to say that I don't know how we went through the whole things that we liked most about the preseason and didn't mention Ingram.
Yeah, that's who I thought you were going to say.
Yeah, I thought Gary was gonna take that one. So we pulled a Lakers and we just overpassed that one. No, Ingram's been absolutely unreal, and I know it's only preseason, but I don't ever really look at the stat lines. I know he had 31 against the Kings, but I mean it's the way he's playing, it's the shots he's getting, I think the thing I've been impressed with the most is the way he plays off of LeBron. Some of the cuts he's made, some of the open looks he's gotten as a result of that. He's looked incredible, and he deserves all the praise. I mean, he's unreal. I mean,
kid just turned 21 last month.
Yeah, I was debating if I want to go out with a hot take right now, but I mean, I could if he's playing like this, it's an all-star level player.
Yeah. And playing off the ball, I think, is going to help him a lot. It'll make the game a lot easier for him, and he won't have to try and create his own offense and things like that. And so having LeBron James, shocker, is going to help somebody be better at basketball.
Yeah. Spoiler alert, we have LeBron James.
Yeah. It's important to remember that. So, yeah, I just wanted to mention him. The thing that's concerned me the most, I mean, it's the defense, number one. I think there's two things after that. One has been our three-point shooting, which, not surprisingly, considering that was a concern coming into the year. It hasn't been great. It's including tonight's game, they're shooting 29.6% from three, which
LeBron is 100% on 40-footers.
So what I'm taking from that is we need a 4-point shot, and LeBron's only shooting from half court.
Yes, precisely.
And it's important to note that them shooting 29.6% would put them behind the Adelaide 36ers, the Shanghai Sharks. NBA's team stats includes all of the foreign games teams have played. So we are really struggling if we can't beat the Adelaide 36ers.
Where's the famed Lakers opponent Maccabi Haifa on the list?
I don't believe they qualify. We are narrowly edging out the Perth Wildcats. So, yeah, rough preseason, but no, really.
Just please don't disrespect my Shanghai Sharks. They're going to surprise people this year.
Shout out to Jimmer.
I was going to say, I think that's who Jimmer plays for, who pulled a Kobe and scored 41 on 40 shots. Yeah, before tonight, I guess the numbers aren't as pretty as I thought they were tonight, but the Lakers haven't really shot well, which, I mean, part of that, like we've talked about, is them overpassing and turning down good shots. I think a lot of times they're attacking closeouts that aren't there. When they should be shooting the three, they're attacking the basket. That's another one of those things that it's going to take time. Everybody's kind of got to get a feel for one another and where they are on the court and where players are going to be, things like that. I don't think they'll shoot 29.6% for the whole year.
Yeah, Beasley had a play like that tonight in the corner where he had an open three to a guy closing out, and then he pump faked and drove and then got called for a charge.
I mean, and LeBron had a play like that I remember because it ended in his and one where Kevin Looney held hands with him, but he attacked a closeout that never really came. The guy closed out short, and I mean, LeBron drove around him anyway, and like I said, got an and one. But it's those types of plays where the higher efficiency plays to shoot the three. But
the moral of the story is LeBron James can do whatever the hell he wants.
Yeah, none of these rules that we're saying apply to LeBron James, but for everybody else, stop attacking closeouts that aren't there. the other thing, which we've said we're going to talk about, the Lakers are really thin at center. I didn't think coming into the year I was going to say this, but heaven forbid if JaVale McGee gets hurt, it is going to be rough for the Lakers because, like I said, Beasley's been good in stretches, but he is not going to be a starter, and Zubats has looked totally out of his element again this preseason.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It's, a big concern, no pun intended, but yeah, I guess it depends on how much you believe in Mo Wagner in his rookie year, because we haven't gotten to see him play since Summer League, which kind of weird that a contusion has kept a guy out this long. I've never really heard of that, but
well, it is the Lakers training staff we're talking about.
Yeah.
Here, so
sprained ankle out for 6 months.
Yeah.
So, I think Wagner is going to help. I think his game will fit into what the Lakers want to do. He's a guy that's going to, play hard. He's going to be a hustle player. Fans are going to love him. I think he'll be awesome at home games, just because the crowd will really feed off of like his energy plays and how much he's just always hyped, So, and his shooting, I think, will be a plus to add some spacing. But yeah, it's a concern. It's especially a concern when you're leaning on, a rookie, because we just don't know. He hasn't had any real reps against NBA, like an actual NBA level competition. He had summer league reps, but that was it. So, Hani, I guess what's your take on the center rotation? How are you feeling about it? Is there a guy out there that you would take a flyer on and try and add to the team? Or, how are you feeling about that whole situation?
Yeah, so you're asking me to get in trouble again because
we cannot clone JaVale McGee and just have like 3 of them on the roster.
We'll just find another Nevada center to bring in. We'll get Jordan Caroline out.
Cam Oliver, where you at?
Yes, he's playing preseason for the Blazers, but we'll steal him. No, so obviously it is a real concern, and part of that is because JaVale, as good as he has been, is never going to be able to play more than about 20 minutes a night because he has asthma and he can't run for so long. And like you said, leaning on a rookie and Wagner is kind of an issue. I'm not sure how I feel about that. I think he has value in that he's a pick and pop threat. He can potentially add some 3-point shooting to the team, which they need. But in terms of defending bigs, being a rim protector, I'm not super bullish on those chances. And like Jacob said, Zubats has just not looked good. And I am pulling for him, and I really hope that he pulls it around. But boy, I am not feeling very confident in that. Sorry, David Chia, if you're listening. So in terms of guys that I'm kind of looking at, I know the Lakers are kind of keeping that empty roster spot potentially for a buyout candidate, but to me that makes no sense because you can just sign someone to a minimum deal, and then if you decide a buyout candidate makes more sense, just cut that guy and sign them later.
Yeah.
The guy I've been looking at, and which everybody got mad at me for a couple of weeks ago because I wrote about this, is Joakim Noah, who is expected to be cut sometime next week before the deadline, as long as he doesn't get traded, which he's not going to get traded. But so Noah has been kind of washed in New York. I 100% agree and understand that. But my feeling is that he still has things that he can give the Lakers and things that really fit in well with the Lakers, namely that he's a really good passer, which just adds more passing to this crazy team that all they do is pass the ball. And I don't think that's necessarily an issue. And I think that helps off the bench because they don't have quite as many creators off the bench. And the second thing is he's still like, I kind of looked at some of like the advanced numbers, and he's still like, he wasn't a bad defender a couple years ago when he actually played in his first year in New York. Last year he barely played, so I didn't really look at those numbers. But he can still do some things defensively, and that is kind of the biggest need for them from the center position, I think. I don't think they need somebody to go put people on the block and score points. as long as you can defend and move the ball and just play that role, I think he can still bring value.
Yeah, and I think that's the important thing to remember as we brainstorm, possible guys that they could go add, is that you're not necessarily looking for, an all-star caliber player here, because if they were, there's a reason they're not available, right? They're all on teams right now, so. You're just looking. I think the key is to just find a guy that you can plug into the rotation and give you some spot minutes, and because obviously the Lakers aren't going to roll with a traditional center, throughout the entire duration of each game. There's going to be a lot of small ball lineups, and you're going to see LeBron at the 5 or Kuzma at the 5 or whatever. So it's important to remember that you're looking for a guy that can just kind of come off the bench and supply some relief, give you some solid minutes, some spot minutes here and there. And I think Noah's a guy that you could do that. If you're getting him on a 1-year minimum deal, it's such a low risk move. It's like people act like if you suggest Joakim Noah that you're getting him on the contract that he signed with the Knicks.
Somebody legitimately said that to me. I 100% made it clear that they would be signing him after he got cut, but somebody very much said, on that contract? And I'm like, no, very much not on that contract.
That's the rule. You have to just match the last contract he had.
Yeah, good life.
Does that rule out Andrew Bynum then if we have to do that? Jacob, do you got a center that's, attainable that you think the Lakers should take a look at?
I will say first, the only real concerns I have about Joakim Noah is the fact that he hasn't played truly meaningful basketball in like 2 years.
Yeah.
If I were certain that he was going to be the version of player he was 2 years ago, I'd probably be more open to it, but I'm just kind of working under the assumption that he's not.
He's fresh.
Well, he's also like 43 or something. Yeah.
We joked that Luol Deng was going to be fresh after having so much time off, and him and Jimmy Butler beat the Timberwolves today.
So listen, worst comes to worst, we sign Noah, and then and it doesn't work out, and we trade him to the Timberwolves for Jimmy Butler. What's the harm in that?
Jimmy Butler can obviously play center because he was guarding Karl Anthony Towns today.
There's our small ball center option. All right, I'm in. I'll go with two names. One a trade and one a free agent signing, I believe. The trade one is one that I've been on for ever. I was a big fan of his when he came out of college, but it's Willie Cauley-Stein. He would be the one that I would prefer most about Sacramento or from Sacramento. I think he's kind of JaVale light in a lot of ways, or may even be just a kind of a copy of JaVale. Yeah. A vertical lob threat, really athletic, kind of brings the same play style. So you could interchange those two. Really, I would almost just give Sacramento a call and say, which big man do you not want? Because they have like 400 of them. I would imagine Costa Koufos is the only other one that they're willing to part with, because I don't want Zach Randolph. So I guess maybe Costa Koufos is like a secondary trade. But I think get to near the trade deadline, or what's the date when you can trade the players that you sign? December 15th, I think.
Yeah.
You get to that point, figure out which guys aren't working, maybe wait closer to the deadline, and then flip some of those guys. I would assume it'd be Lance and some fillers and maybe a conditional pick, and try to sign Cauley-Stein. The problem you're going to run into there is that he is going to be a restricted free agent. Mm-hmm. He has a $14 million cap hold that the Lakers can't afford to have on the books. So I'm not sure his long-term future here. I don't know how much they would care, basically. The other name, I was a little surprised he was actually available. ran across his name earlier this summer was Brandon Wright. I'm suggesting a UNC player, so that one hurts.
I'm glad you did because I was going to if you didn't. So
he, again, in a lot of ways, kind of a similar player to JaVale, just a really athletic rim threat. He played last year in Memphis and Houston. I know injuries have been a concern or a problem in recent years. He played 28 games last year, 28 games the year before, 12 games the year before that, and played for 3 different teams in 2014-15. So if you could get him healthy or assure – I mean, there's no way for the Lakers to assure he's healthy, but I guess the ideal version of Brandon Wright, I think, would be exactly what this team needs. But I don't know if that's a risk that they want to take to try to get a guy healthy like that.
Yeah. And another kind of note on the whole Willie Cauley-Stein idea is I don't know how attainable he would be in a trade. Like, I don't know how the Kings value him. But they also don't have their first-round pick this year unless it lands number 1.
I think it still goes to – I don't think they have their first-round pick at all this year. It goes to Boston one way and Philly the other or something.
Okay.
I saw Sega.
I thought it was top 1 protected, but I could be mistaken. Either way, odds are they're not going to have their first-round pick this year, and they're going to be a bad team. So, I mean, I think if you're the Lakers and if you offer, I don't know, say a top 10 protected first-round pick or a lottery protected first-round pick, that could be an attractive piece to them just so they have a first-round pick when they're obviously still rebuilding. And then they can draft another big man so that they could just run a 5 big man lineup with Scalabiciere running point guard. So
can they be our center team? Like, all we do is give them picks. They can use them to draft centers, develop, and then we'll just trade for them again. It'll be like a factory of bigs.
I thought we already did that with the Orlando Magic, though. Although the last Magic guy didn't work out very well. Yeah, but now he's out. Well. Now he's out with a butt injury, so that's peak Dwight Howard.
All the Bucks really did it.
Yeah, I mean, there's not really a whole lot of like attractive options out there. Brandon Wright was one guy that I kind of had penciled down. Looking at kind of the free agent market, it depends on, I guess, if you'd want to try and get like a veteran player or if you'd want to get maybe take another flyer on a young player, which I don't think the Lakers would want to do because they have Zubats and they have Wagner already as young players. But another guy that I think isn't on the team right now, and I think there's been like some character concerns and whatnot, is Deontay Davis. I mean,
I didn't know he wasn't on the team.
Yeah, I was looking him up, and it just says last team he played with was Memphis, and it shows him as a free agent now. So, still only 21 years old. He'll turn 22 in December. Was a very talented player coming out of college, out of Michigan State, and I don't know, really interesting because if I remember correctly, he fell quite a bit on draft night. So there might be some character concerns there. I don't really know, but it's a player that could be, if you're able to kind of mold him into the type of player you want to be, and you're able to get him to buy in, could be, I mean, a valuable piece for your long-term future. But like I said, with Wagner being a young player and Zubats already, being young as well, I don't know if they'd want to go with maybe a veteran guy or not. But yeah, I mean the options are fairly limited. So
there's 2 buyout candidates that I was thinking of too. I mean, like we said, the Lakers are leaving the roster spot open. I would almost at this point, if they really want to leave a roster spot open, I would almost cut Zubats and go get one of these guys. That's how kind of low I've fallen on Zubats. He's looked like the same kind of plotting big man for much of last year and into preseason this year. I know he's had an illness, but I mean, he didn't have an illness all of last season. So, but the 2 guys I was thinking of, I mean, we talked about the Magic. Nikola Vucevic, I would imagine he could be traded for. I think he still has value, but if he's bought out, I would think that the Lakers would be interested in him. And the other one, I don't know what the hell's going on in Phoenix at this point, but Tyson Chandler could be another one,
right?
If he's bought out. But again, he's another guy that might have some value in the trade market. The problem with a lot of these guys, like Vucevic has a big contract. He's $12 million. I know Tyson Chandler has an enormous contract. The problem with a lot of these guys is finding trade partners for contracts that big. So a lot of these guys aren't going to be moved. Tyson Chandler, it's not quite as big, $13.5 million. So they're both expiring. I think both probably will be bought out if they're not traded. So that could be two names to keep an eye on too.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's kind of slim picking. So I think we should honestly trade for two different big players. I think we should just trade for Julius Randle and Anthony Davis. But maybe that's just
trade
me.
For Anthony Davis and demand Julius Randle be part of the package.
Get it done, Rich Paul. One name popped into my head, and I was like, yeah, Cole Aldrich isn't on the team. We should sign him. He's pretty good. And then I checked, and he literally signed with a Chinese team today.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, the other name Anthony's brought up a lot, if you've listened to him, it makes sense as Tariq Black. I mean, I was really surprised he didn't find an NBA landing spot this year. I don't know how quickly he would be willing to come back to the NBA. I don't even know if the Lakers have interest in him. He would make a ton of sense for this team. And the other name I thought of the other day, another former Laker big man, is Thomas Robinson. I don't know where he's been since he left the Lakers. I was pleased with him. I think he spent 1 year here that he was here. It's always hard to get kind of a feel on guys when they're on a terrible team, but I thought he played well. He was another guy I was surprised didn't find another landing spot. And with the league going so small now, he could be a small ball center. Yeah. I mean, to me, I think JaVale's so valuable for like the skill set he has that I would try to find guys with similar skill sets. It also makes it easier to interchange the players. I mean, all the guys, aside from like Vucevic that I mentioned, are basically like lob threats, athletic players. So, yeah, I mean, to me, that's what I'd be looking for. But right now, beggars can't be choosers. Like the Lakers really need a center. And I think whatever the best available talent they can find is probably who they should go after.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think it's interesting that they've left that roster spot open. So maybe something's in the works. Maybe they are counting on Wagner to be surprisingly good as a rookie. Who knows? But yeah, put JaVale in bubble wrap because if he gets hurt, this team could really suffer from that. So, all right. Anything else before we sign off here, boys?
So, how about the Nevada basketball team, huh?
Yeah, so we're gonna sign off.
I am not ready to talk about that.
We are gonna sign off. We're not getting into that, honey. I should just kick you off the pod, but I'll be
national championship, baby.
Honey gets a halfway decent good basketball
halfway
team.
Halfway decent,
and is going to be.
I'll have you know we are on multiple preseason top 10 lists. Multiple.
We were doing so good until Honey brought up Nevada basketball. Now it's just getting right off.
Y'all just said we got to put a Nevada basketball player in bubble wrap because we can't afford to lose him. That's all I'm going to say.
That's the nicest thing I'm ever going to say about Nevada. I almost feel like I should start mispronouncing it just to make you mad.
Jacob already does.
I don't even do it out of spite, but I'm going to now.
All right. That's going to do it for us this time. It was good to be back. We're going to be back a lot more. These are basically, I think, going to serve as our post-game recaps. So we'll have lots to talk about. This Lakers season is going to be very, very interesting. So This was fun. If you like the podcast, as always, you can subscribe to us on YouTube. You can subscribe on Podbean and, of course, on iTunes. And if you like the podcast, please leave us a review on iTunes. Those reviews really, really help us out. Helps us get exposure and gets more people to see the pod on iTunes and things like that. So if you like the pod, do that for us. That would be greatly, greatly appreciated. You can also find all of our stuff on LakersOutsiders.com, which has a new look. If you haven't checked out the new site, Hani and Dylan, I know you guys kind of spearheaded that project. The site looks great. It's got a new look, new formatting. Looks awesome. So if you haven't seen that, check it out, LakersOutsiders.com. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and on Instagram. We're everywhere. So again, this was fun. I want to thank all of you that chimed in and watched us derail with Nevada basketball at the end. But thanks again for tuning in. Hani, thanks for everything until the end of this podcast. Jacob, it was fun talking some Lakers basketball with you. We got a week to go, boys. A week to go. All right. So for Hani Amadian and Jacob Rude, I'm Gary Kester signing off. Until next time.
Shout out Julius Randle. I miss you.